It was a quiet afternoon, the kind many people remember from years ago. The sun was warm, but not harsh. A soft breeze moved through the trees along the road. The small roadside diner at the corner of Maple Street looked peaceful, almost sleepy. In the wide parking lot beside the diner, a row of motorcycles stood shining in the sunlight. Chrome reflected the sky above. Black leather seats rested quietly. A small group of bikers had stopped there to rest during their afternoon ride. They were not young men anymore. Most of them were in their 50s or early 60s. Men who had spent decades riding highways, watching towns pass by, and collecting stories along the way. Among them was Robert "Bobby" Hayes. Bobby was a tall man with strong shoulders and a thick beard that had begun turning silver. His arms were covered in old tattoos, faded artwork from a younger time. Despite his rough appearance, Bobby had gentle eyes. The kind of eyes that had seen life, and learned patience. Beside him stood Daniel Walker, a quiet rider with gray hair tucked beneath a black bandana. Daniel leaned against his motorcycle, sipping coffee from a paper cup. Nearby, Frank Miller and George Dalton talked quietly about old roads they had ridden years ago. Their voices were calm and slow. There was laughter now and then. The kind of easy laughter that comes with age, when men no longer feel the need to prove anything. For a moment, the world felt peaceful. But then, from the far side of the parking lot, a small voice broke the quiet air. "Please help me." All the bikers turned. A little girl was running toward them. She couldn't have been older than 6. Her name was Emma Carter. Emma had soft brown hair that brushed her shoulders. A small pink clip held one side back. She wore a simple red dress that moved as she ran, and small black boots that tapped quickly against the pavement. But what caught everyone's attention was that she was crying. Real tears rolled down her cheeks. Her breathing was fast and uneven. She looked frightened in the way only a child can be when something feels terribly wrong. Without hesitation, Bobby stepped forward. He slowly lowered himself onto one knee so he wouldn't tower over her. The big biker suddenly looked gentle, almost fatherly.
"Hey there, sweetheart," Bobby said softly.
His voice was deep but warm. "What's the matter?" Emma tried to speak, but her voice shook. They're hurting my mama," she cried. The words hung in the air. For a moment, the parking lot became completely silent. The bikers looked at one another. Men who had spent their lives riding fast machines now stood very still. Age brings something valuable.
Patience. And wisdom. Bobby placed a calm hand on Emma's shoulder.
"All right," he said gently. "You show us where she is." Emma pointed down the street toward a small white house. It stood only a short distance away, partly hidden behind tall trees.
Bobby slowly stood up.
He glanced at the other riders. No one needed instructions. Just quiet understanding. Daniel finished his coffee and set the cup aside. Frank adjusted his gloves. George started his motorcycle.
One by one, engines came to life.
Not loudly. Not aggressively.
Just steady, deep, and calm.
Bobby helped Emma climb carefully onto the back of his motorcycle. "Hold on to my jacket," he told her kindly. She wrapped her small hands around the leather. The bikes rolled slowly out of the parking lot. Neighbors nearby looked up as the small group of riders moved down the street. Within moments, they reached the little white house. Bobby parked near the front yard. Emma quickly pointed toward the porch.
There stood a woman. Her name was Linda Carter.
She looked frightened and tired. A man nearby was shouting angrily. The bikers stepped forward.
Not rushing. Not shouting.
Just walking calmly together. Sometimes calm strength speaks louder than anger ever could. The man suddenly noticed them. 5 large bikers stood quietly in the yard. Leather jackets.
Heavy boots. Strong shoulders. And calm, watchful eyes. Bobby stepped forward.
His voice was steady.
"Son," he said slowly.
"I think it's time for you to leave."
There was no threat in his voice. Just certainty.
The man looked around, realizing he was outnumbered. After a moment of silence, he turned and walked away. The tension in the air slowly faded.
Linda rushed toward her daughter.
Emma ran into her arms. Mother and child held each other tightly. The kind of hug that says more than words ever could. Bobby stepped back respectfully. He believed families should have their moment. Daniel spoke softly.
"You folks all right?"
Linda nodded, still holding Emma. "Yes, thank you," she said quietly. Bobby smiled gently. "No thanks needed," he replied. "It's just what neighbors do." The bikers returned to their motorcycles. Engines started again.
Before leaving, Bobby glanced back.
Emma stood beside her mother. She lifted her small hand and waved.
Bobby waved back.
Then the motorcycles rolled slowly down the road. Soon the sound of the engines faded into the distance. The street returned to its quiet rhythm. Later that evening, neighbors would talk about what happened. Some would say they were surprised. Others would simply smile. Because life has a way of reminding us that people are not always what they appear to be. Sometimes the men who look the toughest carry the kindest hearts. And sometimes the most important thing we can do in life
is simply stop, listen, and help someone who needs it.
For Bobby and his friends, it was just another stop on a long road. But for Emma and her mother, it was a moment they would remember for the rest of their lives.
And perhaps,
many years from now, when Emma grows older, she may remember the day when a group of bikers chose kindness over indifference. And she may pass that same kindness on to someone else. Because that is how goodness travels through the world.
Quietly, patiently, one small act at a time.